It's time to get rambling with your host of the Ramblin' Bout Wrestling podcast, Nick Pearl. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Ramblin' Bout Wrestling podcast. I am your host, Nick Pearl, and today, this is kind of crazy to think. It has been one full year of me sitting here and rambling to all of you. For that, thank you. Who would have thought that I'd even be at this point right now? From when I first wanted to start doing a podcast about wrestling, all the times I tried to start it up and then I just kind of pushed it off because I didn't like what I had, to now, crazy. Looking all the way back to the first episode of the podcast, I know a lot of people go out there, they say, you know what, I want to start a podcast. I want to talk about this. I want to talk about that. And then they go on and they talk and they'll have a good conversation. Don't get me wrong. But what makes you different? What makes you someone that I want to listen to? Who are you? Where is your credibility? And for my first episode of the podcast, I wanted you guys to know exactly what you're getting yourselves into. When you turn on the YouTube, you turn on the Instagram, the Spotify, the Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, all those things. I'm on them all, by the way. You turn it on, I want you to know exactly what you're getting. So for the first episode of the podcast, that's what I did. Gave you some background on myself. Told you my first wrestling memories and told you some stories. If you did not get a chance to listen to that a year ago, go check it out now. It's a very interesting listen. And it's also cool to see where I started, where I was still trying to find my confidence, having conversations, looking into a screen. And I've grown. I have definitely grown from not knowing, are people actually going to listen to me? Is this just going to be some type of side thing that, I do every once in a while? Am I really going to commit to this? I committed. It's been 1 year, and we've done, let me check, how many podcast episodes have we had? Alexa, 15 plus 2 plus 23 plus 19 plus 7.
15 plus 2 plus 23 plus 19 plus 7 is 66.
We are at 66 episodes of the podcast, with this being 67. I have sat here that many times to tell stories for all of you. So thank you for listening to me. Just looking right now, some statistics for you geeks out there like me. The YouTube right now is at, let me pull this number up real quick. You'd think I'd have it already. You'd think I would. We are currently at 4,146 subscribers on YouTube. And on Instagram, we have finally reached 300 followers. Instagram obviously isn't as big as the YouTube. I may have also cheesed getting some of these YouTube subscribers, posting some full matches from AEW. I got a copyright strike. I'm not going to do that anymore. I learned my lesson. But that only gained me a couple hundred from all those matches that I put. A lot of the other stuff, it's from my reactions, it's from podcast episodes, it's from edits I've done, reels I've made. So it's a lot of people actually enjoy my content, which I'm shocked. I didn't think people would as much. But I've always wondered what it would be like to get paid to do a podcast or something like this. To get that, YouTube had its parameters that I had to meet in order to start making money. You needed 2,000 subscribers or 3,000 subscribers, something along those lines. You needed a couple thousand subscribers, and you needed to reach 4,000 total watch hours. And I reached that. People watched my content enough so I would be able to get paid. Like I said, I cheesed it a little bit, but I still reached that threshold that I needed. So I am now sitting on about $105. I don't know when I'm getting the money. I don't know how I'm getting the money. Thank you again. I also have some merchandise now. If it came in the mail and I didn't have to wait a month, I'd be wearing it right now. But in case you want your own, you can get a mug, you can get stickers, you can get t-shirts, sweatshirts, long sleeve. If you want it, I got it, and there's only going to be more and more designs. I design everything. I didn't take crazy Photoshop classes. I didn't even take podcasting classes. I'm a video editor. I took one photography class in high school, and I took a couple of After Effects and Photoshop classes, maybe one in college, because they didn't offer a podcasting class or anything that you think, maybe that would be more useful. Five Towns College, everybody. It happened. Right now, I'm pretty sure that the only people that have bought anything are members of my family and myself. I could be wrong. Somebody bought the other day, and I don't really know who it is. So, if that was you, I appreciate you. But yeah, I learned all this stuff on the fly. Tim, right now, my brother, down at High Point, he was taking a podcasting class one of the last semesters. And the things that he was learning, he would text me, he would go into his podcast studio and record and show me what equipment he had. So I got a list of upgrades that I want to make. Very excited for my merchandise to come in. I can't wait to wear it around Vegas, and we're going to talk about Vegas very soon. All these things I had to teach myself. So in the future, we're going to be upgrading my setup, upgrading some gear. I'm thinking about getting a new microphone, getting a new video camera, so when I go to shows and get some content to make highlight reels, they're going to look even better than if I just brought the GoPro or my video camera or even my phone. Something that I thought was funny, whenever I would watch wrestling, I always recorded my reactions. I've been doing it for years, especially the Royal Rumbles. You know how much I love them. I did a whole watch along. I do the watch along every single year, going through every single Rumble. And if something crazy happens, I freak out, and then I show everybody. The only difference now is that I'm posting these online. So now it's not just me sharing my shenanigans with people I know. It's me sharing my shenanigans with everybody across the world. Or whoever watches them, Roman Reigns coming back at SummerSlam, got over 100,000 views. It's just cool to see my reactions blowing up. Joe Hendry in the Rumble. Jey Uso winning the Rumble. Tiffany Stratton cashing in. I didn't think people would actually search up and want to see me going crazy over a show that they're probably watching and going crazy over too. I'm not faking it. I'm not phoning it in. I get very invested in wrestling, sometimes a little too invested. And that's where these reactions come from. I go to live shows, I'm screaming. I'm at home sitting on my couch alone in my house with the dog on my lap, I'm screaming. And then I get a phone call from Nanny next door. Nick, why are you yelling? Oh, John Cena just came back. Oh, there's a new WWE Women's Champion. Things like that. That's just me. That's who I am. But some of the shows that I've gone to, in the last year and a half alone, I've gone to Bloodsport and GCW, AEW shows, WWE, Ring of Honor, MLW, HOG, LPW, and next weekend I'm going to be going to my first VPW, Victory Pro Wrestling show, and as well as Creative Pro Wrestling, both of which Evil Kip, the first wrestler that I ever had the pleasure of interviewing on the podcast, he may not call it a pleasure, he actually wrestles on VPW and Creative Pro, so this is going to be the first time that I'm actually seeing him wrestle live. But speaking of individual wrestlers, I've had the opportunity to meet a ton in the last year and a half. I've met Prince Nana, and I bought his coffee, so he gave me a follow on Instagram. I don't drink coffee, but I bought it, and he followed me, so yes. I met Joe Hendry twice. I did a podcast episode with my friends Velarde and Bear about the first time that we met him. Joe Hendry liked it, he commented, and he gave me a follow, saying he never usually follows podcasts, but he does now. Yes. Still, I remember sitting I posted the episode. 15 minutes later, it says Joe Hendry liked it, and Joe Hendry started following you 5 minutes after that. And I was just sitting here shaking. I could not sleep that whole night. To see where Joe Hendry's been in the last year and a half. He was in the Royal Rumble. He was the TNA champion. And he follows me on Instagram. Come on. One of the guys that we have been following for years, and by we, I mean Eamon and myself, we had the opportunity to meet the Beast Mortos before Grand Slam, where we saw Bryan Danielson versus Nigel McGuinness. I've had the opportunity to meet Nick Nemeth, the Kingo, the Hardys, and I'm on Matt Hardy's Instagram freaking out over them getting announced at being at the show that I was meeting them at. That's still surreal when I go through things I'm tagged in, and there's me on Matt Hardy's page. I met Kurt Angle. He signed my milk. Ricky Starks. He's really tall. You don't realize how tall he is until you're standing next to him, and then he has to do the pose and you screw it up. At MLW, I sat front row and got a picture with Mystico, which one of the best luchadors in the world. I met Evil Kip at my orchestra concert, and he covered my face. I met Diamond Virago, Oni King, the champions in Legacy Pro Wrestling, and I also met, of course, you've heard his name a bunch here, Billy M. Kidd. from having Billy on the podcast to texting him every now and then and to sitting with him at the last GCW show at Hammerstein, because Eamon went with me. He left early, so I just chilled with Billy and his cousin. I consider him to be a friend. So it's all about making connections. From Billy, having that podcast episode, I also had the opportunity to interview Moon Spider. We talked about cartoons, video games, wrestling. What is the Moon Spider character? Who is Moon Spider? I also have another interview that's going to be coming out very soon involving a luchador from Legacy Pro Wrestling, the Tiny Giant. I don't want to spoil too much of this interview with the Tiny Giant. I guarantee you it is going to be an incredible listen. Just, it's chock full of information, and there's so much that goes into being a luchador, and we learn about that. So that's some stuff that's coming in the future. I've reached out to a couple of the wrestlers as well, and there's some that I still have yet to reach out to that I'm planning on. I just don't want to get too far ahead of myself. Going to these wrestling shows, I like to record. I'm constantly recording. My friend Bear says I'm never in the moment at these shows, but hey, it is what it is. I'm sorry, Bear. I just like to go and record so I can come home, look through all my footage, relive these moments over and over again, and make highlight reels, make edits, show people some of my video editing skills. And I've done this a couple of times. I've made, just from House of Glory alone, I've made a reel of Enzo Amore going up against Zilla Fatu, and Enzo actually DM'd me asking if I can email it to him, which that was something. DMing Enzo Amore, emailing Enzo Amore. He's a certified G and a bona fide stud, and you can't teach that. So that happened. I also posted El Hijo del Vikingo and Nick Nemeth. I did a highlight reel of them. And at MLW, the first one I actually did, it was Akira versus Kenta. I've seen Kenta wrestle twice now, and both times have been Match of the Year contenders. A little under the radar, though, because they're not high-profile shows. But if you get an opportunity to, go check out Akira versus Kenta from MLW, and go and check out Kenta versus Mike Santana from HOG. Incredible matches. In addition to the match highlights, I even started making some show highlights. So if you go, I have LPW show highlights from their last two shows. The last one that I did, LPW actually accepted my invitation to be a collaborator. So it's on their page as well as mine. Really awesome that I'm on a pro wrestling company's page. Hopefully there'll be more in the future. But having this platform, not just for the podcast, to post all my editing. New season teasers for the podcast, special guests coming on the podcast. All of these things, I have the opportunity to showcase my skills now to everybody watching. So it just opens up more opportunities for me in the future, which I never would have thought would be possible, starting a podcast. And now that people actually know that I watch wrestling, I don't know how you didn't know before, I have more people to come to wrestling shows with. I started taking my friend from high school, Chris Angelo, and my cousin's boyfriend, Colin. They're my boys. They're added to the Ramblin' About Wrestling crew. Here, we're very accepting. Everybody, you watch wrestling, you want to talk about it, you want to ramble, come to a show with me. But now the biggest thing that's coming up in the near future, we're going to WrestleMania. We're going to Vegas. This is my first time ever going to Vegas, my first WrestleMania, and I have the opportunity to go with two of my closest friends in Velarde and Bear. I'm going to try and hit up as many wrestling shows as I can. They don't necessarily want to do the same, but we're all going to go to Vegas. We're all going to have a good time. And any shows that I can go to while still having time to do other Vegas things, it's going to happen. Going to be vlogging the entire trip. If you guys feel you're missing out, live it through me. Because I am going to be the biggest geek in Vegas. And hopefully I come back not down too much money. There's going to be tons of meet and greets there too. I would love to meet Mike Tyson. He's going to be there. But my big one that I am dying to meet, if this is his last year donning the face paint and everything, I need to meet Sting. Even though I didn't know of him when he had his original run, I knew how iconic the icon was. Never watched him in TNA. I only started watching him when he debuted in WWE at Survivor Series. And I went crazy. I wish I had that reaction. My dad hit me in the head with a candy cane full of M&Ms. They went flying everywhere. I said, Dad, it's Sting. How could I not yell? Anyway, being able to meet Sting would be my ultimate goal out of anything at WrestleMania. We still got to write down our itinerary. I have what I want to do, but I also want to take a picture with a flamingo. And I want to do some free things, and I want to go to the casino. So I would like to double my money. so I can use it to go to more wrestling shows. We'll see if my plan works. Look, first time in Vegas, I'm probably going to be down money. But I digress. We're going to have a good time, and I cannot wait. So, closing this episode out, thank you guys again so much. This has been a bit of a year in review of everything that we've accomplished so far, and we're only going up. So there's going to be a lot more to come. More reactions, WrestleMania content. John Cena's retiring. We're going to have a lot of John Cena stuff coming out. We're doing Undertaker streak watch-alongs. Even after the streak ended and he came back, we're going to do all those matches. I'm going to watch them all. I haven't seen them all. I've seen a nice chunk, but I haven't seen them all. But this is just what I do. This is what I love. I love watching wrestling, and I love rambling about wrestling. So here's to another year full of shenanigans, and I'll catch you all on the next one. Let's keep rambling, everybody.
Welcome to WrestleMania!